Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where we watch a randomly selected horror movie every week. I'm Bob.
I'm Ben.
Wow, you're so low energy now.
It is 6:30 in the morning. Go fuck yourself.
You were just screaming half a second ago.
I was just screaming then.
That's true. I got your energy back. I found it. Awesome. Fantastic.
It's in a hole with my will to live.
Oh, man. You'll be fine, dude. Look, I feel like you have your shit more put together than I do.
That's called mania from lack of sleep. I've been up since 10 a.m.
Have you really?
yesterday.
I've been up since about 3 p.m.
I gotta wake up I have to be at a haircut appointment in like 8 hours.
Dude, you could just go to the dude where I go.
Yeah, but I have an appointment with my barber.
Oh, you have your own barber?
Yeah.
Man, you're one of those people? Sorry,
Yeah.
that sounded like I was attacking you for being... never mind.
No.
I'm just saying, like, for someone to have their own barber feels like a very... I mean, I'm going to be honest. I was a very poor child. We didn't have our own barber. We just, like, my mom just cut my hair in my house.
I don't own him.
Well, I'm not saying you owned him. I'm saying, like, did you
This
go to
is-
the same guy?
This is my barber on payroll.
That's what it... I don't know. It feels like a fancy person thing.
No, that's a really normal thing. First of all, we've known this person so long, he's kind of like a family friend now.
Well,
But
see, that's nice.
also, it's pretty normal to have one person you go to get your hair done because they consistently know how you like your hair and they do it the same way every time.
That's fair. I think... Well, you know what? As an adult, I think I found my barber
yeah, basically
recently.
every time you like move cities, you probably have to change. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, you find someone who can do your hair well, and then if they do your hair well, you keep going back to them. They
Yeah.
get better at it.
Look, I got a haircut. Ben can attest this. This is gonna sound bad. I look very homeless a lot because I let my beard and my hair get all wild, and then I'd like just wear whatever half the time.
I was laughing because a lot of the time was an understatement.
Most of
Bob-
my life.
Bob, last year, during the winter, because we
Oh,
sometimes work
no.
outside,
Oh no!
found a jacket. I need to stress this. He found a jacket
It's over there. It's right over there.
That
You
be-
can see it.
that became a part of his everyday look, in which he would wear this jacket that was multiple sizes too big.
Look, for reference, I usually wear an XL in most things.
And how big was this jacket?
7XL.
He would usually wear it over another jacket because it doesn't zip.
Yep.
And then he'd wear a beanie. And at the time, Bob's hair was super long. His beard was super untrimmed.
Jacob had me out in the corner holding a sign asking for change.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Look, I look presentable now. I think I trimmed my beard. I got a haircut.
Yeah, you went to a wedding.
I had to go to 2 weddings.
Thankfully, you don't look grungy as fuck anymore.
No, I
You're
had
not
to clean
like
it up.
Suicide Junior from Return of the Living Dead.
I don't have any lip piercings or eyeball. I do want a nose piercing. I've talked about this.
Not on the podcast.
Not on the podcast, just in general. I don't know. I feel like getting a nose piercing
Like
with
a
the
nose
guys-
gauge.
No. Oh my God, no.
Have you seen those?
No, ew.
They're wild.
That's ew, gross.
Because like it's usually not on the septum. It's usually on the sides.
Really? That's so
Yeah.
weird. Ooh. No, I don't like gauges in general. Like, I don't mind them, but people with like super huge gauges, I just don't get it. Like, you're just gonna have holes like that in your ears forever.
You have to get plastic surgery if you want them gone.
Really? See, that's just like
Yeah.
expensive.
Well, it's not like super complex plastic surgery.
I mean, yeah.
They basically cut off all the excess skin and then sew it together.
Oh, grody.
All right. So, we're doing a normal episode of The Board today.
Yeah,
you know that
normal episode.
because you're listening to this on Friday.
Yeah,
Good for you guys in the future.
good for you in a while.
There's no confusion.
No confusion for you guys. Confusion for mostly me. I get confused so easily nowadays. Unrelated. Never mind. I'm going to stop myself before I say something I shouldn't. So our categories for this season are haunted houses, swamps, and fear the music.
Yeah, you did them wildly out of order, but that works.
There's no order.
There is an order. It's
I guess in
mine,
your notes.
random yours. Every time.
What? Okay. Cool.
That's how I read them out every time. That's how they're in my notes.
Really? You keep them that organized?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Maybe I should pay more attention.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
I would think, well,
I think you'd figured it out by now.
yeah. So the only category I haven't chosen is haunted houses.
Shockingly, Bob's going to choose it today.
Well, You really had to ruin my you really just stole my thunder.
You do 1, 2, 3 every time.
No, I don't.
Not like 1, 2, 3 spot, but like you do
I
every.
usually like to start the
category.
season with doing one episode in every category, just to get a taste.
I think you should really throw a curveball on one board and just do like one whole category, then the next category.
I'll
and
do
then
it
the
today.
next.
No, I won't. I won't do that. So I'm going to choose haunted houses
Okay.
because I'm going to be honest. We have taken no L's this season. Every movie has been at least okay, if we're not counting the extra episodes, because those have been bad. Those have been making me angry.
Yeah. No, we had Blackwater,
Which is okay. I like that
Which
movie.
was
It was a
pretty
cool croc
decent.
movie,
and then Studio 666,
which I fucking loved.
which is great.
So funny. So good. I've been telling like Cotton for like a week and a half we need to watch it together. I'm like, dude, we gotta watch it. It's so good.
Well, that depends on how much you like the Foo Fighters.
Well,
and also bad
yeah.
movies.
it's not a bad movie.
But like, cheesy kind of.
It is cheesy. I'll give you that.
Anyways, yeah, haunted houses.
So, I'm gonna choose spot 3 in haunted houses.
Okay.
I'm worried because this is the category that I think has the highest chance to fuck me up.
Every category has a high chance to fuck
That's
you
not
up.
true. If we got horror musicals,
What if we got
horror comedy?
swamps and it had sharks?
If you give me a swamp shark movie, I
Swamp
will
shark.
blow my noggin off.
There's underwater sequences and it's deep underwater in the swamp.
How deep is the swamp?
It's an ocean.
That's a big swamp.
Curveball.
No, get
Just
out of
the
here.
middle of the ocean.
That would be.
It's a water swamp.
What? It's a tropical swamp.
It's a reverse swamp. It's just a reef.
Oh. No. Ooh. I do want to watch that movie at some point. The Reef. I want to see
No,
that.
I meant like a reverse swamp would be like a reef.
Yeah,
'cause
I
it's
know.
Like,
But you said The Reef, and I thought of the movie.
okay. So spot number 3 is The Haunting.
What a generic ass name.
Ah, thanks, Bob.
Well, no, the movie. This is not. Don't be offended for the movie's sake.
Don't be offended for the movie.
I-
Can't defend itself.
I feel like I should have at least know what this is,
Probably.
but I don't.
But yeah, that's not surprising for you.
No, it's not. But
Uh,
I'm scared.
It's a 1963 movie.
Whoa, this is
We're
old.
going way back.
Holy crap, this is gonna be cool.
Description: is the Hill House haunted?
Oh, it's this one. Maybe.
Mm,
No, maybe it's this one. Maybe it's the one I'm thinking of. Maybe not.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think it is.
Okay.
Because what are you thinking of?
The Vincent Price one.
No,
Ah,
that's different.
I almost.
What?
I would love to see a Vincent Price movie on this podcast. Have we talked about that?
What? No.
Okay. Never mind. I won't bring it up again.
Talked about what? Bob, stop doing a visual gag on our audio podcast. I don't know what you're referring to. You're just making like monkey faces.
We've recorded a movie with Vincent Price in it that is yet to come out.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day.
It will eventually.
You think so?
Maybe.
We've recorded that a long time ago. We just have to go back and finish recording the rest of it.
Spoiler, guys. We're sitting on a movie.
A movie that we recorded a long time ago.
It was enjoyable.
It was a fine movie. I actually liked it.
Anyways, length 1 hour and 52 minutes long.
Oh, God damn it. I knew I would do this to myself again.
Bob,
Every time we record in the morning, I get like 2-hour-long movies.
Bob turned to me at work because we were talking about recording. Because he was like, "Yeah, we have to record today." I was like, "Wait, what?" Because I forgot. And he was like, "If I pick a movie today that is like 2 hours long, I'm gonna kill myself."
Then I did it again without fail. I did it. I hope I like it.
All right, it's rated G.
No way.
Yes,
Is this going to be the scariest film I've ever seen?
The PG scale indicates that it might be the scariest film you've ever seen because
Oh my
PG-13
God.
scares you.
PG-13 scares the pants off me.
Now we skipped straight to G.
I
Past
know.
PG.
I'm scared.
I will say, with older films, the rating scale's a little different.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Both in like rating stuff, like how they rated, but also like lettering and stuff.
Yeah.
But basically, sometimes films that would be rated like an R back in the day, or rated an R today, would be like PG-13 back in the day. or before they had PG-13, just PG.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
all right,
Rating scale's gone through quite a few changes over the years.
review scores.
Okay.
IMDb gave it a 7.4 out of 10.
That's not bad.
Tomato meter, 87%.
Oh, man. Okay.
Audience
alright.
score, 82%.
Look, at least it'll be a good movie.
Now, I will say, when we get to films that are older than the internet, review scores tend to be a little debatable.
Okay.
Mostly because, like, it's usually people who went out of their way to watch this film
That's
are
fair.
then going out of their way to review it.
Okay.
Especially for these really old ones. Like, it's probably someone watching it because they've heard the film's good or that they'll like it and then reviewing it.
Yeah, so there's some bias in whether or not the information we're getting from these websites is totally accurate.
That's not always the case because, like, I don't know. There's some films that are, I think, pretty accurate review scores, but it is something to keep in mind because this
Okay.
isn't like an at-the-time reaction. Like if I pulled up the review score for, like, Avatar: The Way of Water, where it's
Yeah.
just random people who just watched it in theaters giving reviews. All right, it has 1 win for awards and 2 nominations. Notable actors. You ready for this?
I'm sure I'm not going to know a single friggin' person.
I don't know. You might know one.
I might know somebody. Okay.
I give Bob a wink.
Yeah, it was over the top, but yeah.
Like, yeah, you wouldn't be able to see it otherwise.
Stop winking at me like that. I don't like it.
All right, notable actors. Julie Harris as Eleanor Lance. She played Abra in East of Eden in 1955. I'm going to give you the years.
Okay, that would be really
Some
useful.
of these movies have been remade. Claire Bloom as Theodora. She played Hera in Clash of the Titans in 1981. Richard Johnson as Dr. John Markway. He played Dr. Menard in Zombie 2,
Oh, okay, I do know somebody.
1979. For anyone who doesn't know, we didn't watch this film on the podcast. We watched it on a Last Drive-In special.
Yeah. We should cover that for the podcast at some point. I like that movie a lot.
It had shark wrestling.
It's so stupid.
Russ Tamblyn as Luke Sanderson. He was Riff in West Side Story.
Oh,
Have you
okay.
seen West Side Story?
Yeah, I've seen West Side Story.
Okay.
Musical theater. Come
Not
on.
shocking from you.
Yeah.
Faye Compton as Mrs. Sanderson. She played Amelia in Othello in 1951. By the way, that was the 1961 West Side Story. Like, you know,
Yeah.
the OG. Rosalie Crutchley as Mrs. Dudley. Played Miss Beaumont in Wedding 2 in 4 Weddings and a Funeral in 1994.
No idea.
Lois Maxwell as Grace Markway. She played Miss Moneypenny in basically all the James Bond films coming out in the 60s and 70s.
Nah, I've never seen a single James Bond movie.
Oh. Well, basically, some of the old James Bond ones. Like Dr. No. I'm in this impasse where I want a Goldfinger. That's the other one.
Okay. I've never seen a James Bond movie. I have no idea who these people are or what these movies are about.
I know.
Other than James Bond is a spy.
I want you to know I was hesitating there because I was like, my brain was pushing the Austin Powers parody name.
Goldmember.
Which is Goldmember, and I was like,
Yeah.
that is not right. You know it's not right. I was like, what appendage is it? And it was like, oh yeah, it's Goldfinger. So she is, if you're wondering who Mrs. Moneypenny is, because it's a girl in a James Bond film who's in multiple, which if you don't know is kind of shocking because like the big thing for James Bond is like he finds a new
Yeah.
lady friend in like each film.
Okay.
But Miss Moneypenny is like the secretary to, I believe it's,
Q? No.
I think it's M.
Isn't Q the guy with the stuff? Or am I wrong? Am I misremembering?
I think M is Bond's boss.
No, I was thinking of the guy with the tech.
Yeah, it's not Q.
Is it not Q?
No, basically, I think she's the secretary for Bond's boss.
Okay.
And they have like, depending on like what version you're watching, they sometimes have like a professional relationship, but like a weird kind of tension
Okay.
romantically.
I could. Ugh. I'm
What?
pretty sure the audience could hear that because I could hear that.
Oh, well, nothing comes from it. It's just like interesting to see because it was a carry-on in those films. What?
Nothing.
What was that?
It was a good. It was a. I wanted to make a joke, but I stopped myself.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not funny.
Well, you wouldn't have laughed at the joke, Ben.
You can make it anyways.
Well, you said nothing comes from it, and I said, oh, yeah, they don't. That was what I was going to say. It was a
Oh.
cum joke, which is why I didn't want to say it, because I thought it was crass. But Ben made me.
You can cut it.
Moving on.
That's why I do the humor in this podcast. All right. Valentine Dial as Mr. Dudley. He played Jethro Keane in The City of the Dead, 1960.
Huh.
Diane Clare as Carrie Fredericks. She played Clarissa Claremont in The Reluctant Debutante in 1958. John Saxton's in that, by the way. Do you know John Saxton?
No.
Bob, you know John Saxton.
Do I?
Yes.
The name is unfamiliar.
I'm sorry, Bob Saxon. Why was I putting a T in there?
Still don't know who that is.
Bob, you do.
I clearly I don't.
Okay, besides being famous, we have seen movies on this podcast with John Saxon in them.
Who is he?
The one you would know, because we've watched it on this podcast, is Lieutenant Ken Fuller from Black Christmas.
Ah, yes, I do know that guy.
He also plays Lieutenant Thompson on A Nightmare on Elm Street,
Oh, okay.
which
Yeah, I do know
you've
that
seen,
guy.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Nancy Thompson's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John Saxon's really famous.
Okay. More people than I thought I knew in this movie.
He's not in this film, by the way.
Oh,
He's in this other film that this actor was in.
okay. So I don't know this person for this movie. Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay.
No, he's in the same film as Diana Clare
Mm.
back in 1958.
Holy crap.
All right, and finally, Ronald Adam as Eldridge Harper. He was a club steward in Around the World in 80 Days in 1956.
I've never seen that.
All right.
Yeah.
There's a couple versions of it, but
Yeah.
it's a good story. I like it. I mean, I like most of his works. All right. Director's Robert Wise. You don't know him.
No, I don't.
Kind of prolific.
Okay.
I'm going to list. I got multiple movies because I was like, Bob will know all of these.
Really?
Well, not all of them. You'll know.
I'll know some of them maybe.
You'll know most of them.
Okay.
The Sound of Music.
Oh, we talked about this recently.
Directed that. You've seen The Sound of Music, right? Oh my God, Bob.
No. But I know it.
That one's disappointing for you because that's
Well, yeah, you're right.
that,
it is.
that has music in it. Like that's a musical.
I know, but look, I didn't, no. Never interested me. Going
Why
back
not?
and listening to older musicals.
But you watched West Side Story, which is another movie.
Oh, that's true. I
This
did
guy's
watch West Side Story,
directed.
but not by choice.
But it's another musical this guy's directed.
He directed that one too?
Yeah.
God bless.
Sound of Music's really good, Bob. You should go watch it.
I'm aware it's really good.
It's also very funny sometimes in the modern day.
I might watch it.
He also directed The Andromeda Strain, which is kind of like a classic sci-fi horror film,
Yeah, I've heard of that.
and Star Trek: The Motion Picture,
Oh, I haven't seen that.
1979.
but I'm aware of it.
You are aware of what Star Trek is, yes?
Well, no, I'm actually my dad. My dad likes to tell a story about when that movie came out. He was like 9 years old, and he was so excited to see it, and then he hated it. He was so mad.
All right. The writer's Nelson Gidding. He also wrote The Andromeda Strain, so they've worked together multiple times, the director and him. Budget is estimated at like roughly 1.4 million.
That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
Accounting for inflation, that's quite a good chunk of change.
I mean, Robert Wise was a pretty well-established director at this point. I will say it was kind of harder for him to get funding for this film, but he got it eventually. Country of origin, United Kingdom.
Oh, it's a British movie.
Well, that's where it was made,
Okay.
but it's like it was filmed under MGM,
Okay.
Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. So, but like it was produced in the UK.
All right.
It's also known as The Haunting of Hill House, which is like the U.S. alternative title.
That's the way I know it.
That is not how you know that. You don't know this film, Bob.
No. But I've heard of this. I've heard that name.
No, you're getting confused with the Vincent Price film, which is called The House on Haunted Hill.
No, you're not listening to me. The Haunting of Hill House. I'm familiar with the name. I've heard it multiple times.
I'm sure you have.
I have. I'm just.
Yeah, totally.
What?
You want the tagline?
It's a Netflix show, and it's also this movie.
Yeah.
So I've heard it. You some bitch.
You're some bitch.
Can I have the tagline, please?
No.
What? That's not how this works.
All right. Tagline. You may not believe in ghosts, but you cannot deny terror.
Okay, that's fair. I'm scared often.
All right. I got one fact for you before the movie.
All right.
Uno. Ettington Park, which is now Ettington Park Hotel, so I guess it's a hotel now, was used for the exterior shots of this movie. Like, the exterior shots of Hill House, specifically.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
That's all I got for you. That's all the pre-movie facts.
Okay, I'm going into this with an open mind. And excited peepers. Because this is the oldest movie we've watched on the show?
Is it? I don't actually know.
I mean, what did you say, 63?
Yeah, 63.
I don't think we've seen anything from the 60s. Maybe 69.
I think we saw The Exorcist from 69.
No, that's from... You might be right. It might be 1969.
If only there was a way I could backtrack my notes to see these things.
Is there?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a joke.
Oh, I thought you were being for real. I was like, I don't know.
No, I write down the name. Like, I tell you the years these films come out. Of course, I write down the year.
Yeah, okay.
The Exorcist was 1973.
73. What the fuck did we watch from 69? That seems familiar for some reason. Maybe we didn't. Maybe I'm losing my marbles. But oldest film we've seen. It's so old, in fact, that it's a rated G horror movie.
Spooky.
And I'm super interested to see what sort of tropes that I'll be able to recognize from future, like, haunted house or haunt-style movies. You know what I mean? I'm really...
Like, further down the
Yeah.
category?
Yeah. Like, I'm glad that we're getting this as a basis at the start because I don't watch movies. So watching something old will give me, a feeling for what I'll see later. At least I hope.
Okay. Well, on that note, we have to go watch this 2-hour movie. So
Yeah, we'll
be back in a bit.
we'll see you guys after the movie. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished watching The Haunting.
You okay?
Yeah, man. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Okay. You seemed upset for a second. What are your thoughts, Benjamin, before I start spieling? Because I got a lot to say.
I don't know. I don't think I have much to say about this movie that isn't very obvious. It's straight up just a classic haunted house movie,
Yeah.
and it's very reminiscent of classic gothic horror.
Yeah.
Very into suspense rather than overt horror,
Yeah. I can see that. I totally agree with you
with
on that one.
a primary focus on almost the psychological rather than the supernatural.
Yeah.
And outside of that, though, you get what you came for, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It presents itself as what it is, and it does a very good job at that. I mean, that's basically kind of my sum up there.
Yeah. I just wanted to know what you thought before I started talking about it because I have a lot to say, and I'm sure we're going to cover it all as we go.
Yeah.
But I was afraid I wasn't going to like it because it's an old movie.
Yeah, it's probably the oldest movie you've ever watched.
Probably, yeah. Then we started, and it's in black and white, and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a black and white film
Wait, really?
other than Tetsuo. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
But that was...
different.
It's different because this was made during a period in which black and white was common. Tetsuo was made during a period in which black and white was still common, but most things were in color.
But it was also an art film, which is slightly different.
Yeah. Man, I like this movie way more than I expected. It's so fucking cool. It's such an interesting movie. To me, at least. You would think there's really not a lot to go on with. It's a classic haunted house movie. And one of the coolest things I think is, I guess this is kind of a spoiler, not really though. You don't see anything.
No, yeah, that is a trope, I think, in a lot of classic haunted house movies, where it's this idea that it's the implied horror.
Yeah.
'Cause it's terror. It's not horror. It's terror, which is basically the fear of what is unseen.
Gets me good. It gets me good. It's so fucking cool. I'll also put this out there. I said something was making me... I thought something weird when we started this movie. I figured it out.
What Bob's talking about is we started the movie, and he was like, something's off.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
This is going to sound bad. The way this movie is acted is so different
Yes.
from any piece of modern media that I've ever consumed.
That's, I think, probably going into this, I really love old like black and white films. I think they're a lot of fun because they're so removed from modern media
Yeah.
in a way that's just it's hard to put your finger on. And it's not all black and white films. It's not even all old films. There's like I don't want to say there's a specific culture, but it's a very specific style that came out of this time period. And you can always tell when a director's still leaning into it, like this one. I think the most obvious thing is that you mentioned during the film, without any like goading for me, was the transatlantic accent, which is just like a really big thing back in the day. Because it's a fake accent made for like radio and TV.
No one talks like that. Not a single person.
No, but it's really cool.
It's super cool. What I have to say about the acting is it's really, really, really good, but it's so like it's almost alien to anything I've seen in a movie that's made like in the 80s or anything like that. You know what I mean?
What do you mean specifically?
It's almost as if they were acting for a theater show. They're almost overacting, but in the smallest ways possible. It's so hard for me to put my finger on, but it's like, you know how in like old style like stage shows, you'd have to overact so the audience could see your emotions. It's like that, but toned down in the right way.
It's more subtle. So it's less big motions, but it's still the overacting.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's so fucking cool.
I mean, that's a cool way to hear it described, because like when you talk about the different style of acting, I'm aware of it, but I don't have the background in stage to be super good at pointing it out. And
it's so minute too. And you can tell with like every single character's like it makes every emotion they're feeling feel almost as if it's spelled out for you, but it's not because they're not overacting. It's so weird to me, and I like it a lot. It's super cool.
All right, fair enough.
I don't know, man. I just coming from a theater background, I'm just like, oh my god.
Well, it might be one of those things where you have to remember that film obviously developed from theater.
Yeah.
And you haven't watched anything super old, but I think I've talked about it with you before, is that really, really old films, they didn't understand how to do like that difference between like film and theater. And so when you go really old, they do some weird theater stuff in film that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
The one I always go to is like instead of zooming in and do close-ups, they do like a cut shot, and then it'd be like a very over-the-top freeze frame.
And I think this is like the perfect mix between the modern, how do I put this?
Naturalistic style.
Yeah, and the overacted style of early film.
I'd say naturalistic and artificial style of acting.
And it's so fucking rad.
I'm glad you liked that.
Oh.
And that's an interesting takeaway, because like
it scratches every itch my brain loves. Like, it's so fucking cool, man. I don't know. I really like this film. I think it's going to allow me to appreciate a lot of other horror films, because now I have like sort of a background in this style that I didn't have before. We'll see. I think it's a really cool movie, but we should move on.
On a similar note, not similar, but how did you like watching like an actual suspense film?
Oh, it's so cool.
That's what this was.
So good.
Slight spoilers for the outtakes here. So for the whole film, it's like super suspenseful, and I don't know, were you feeling kind of like tight in the chest?
Did you not see me sitting over here at the mic
like I'm kind of on the edge of your seat?
Yeah,
though?
man, it's cool.
Because even though it's a really slow movie, like objectively, it's kind of boring. But they do a lot to maintain like a gradual crescendo and like anxiety. And so we get to a scene and there's a scare. Like not even a scare. There's a quick shot of something, and you actually got scared.
It scared the piss out of me, dude. I have not been scared like that in a long time on the show.
And you're like, what happened? And I was like, yeah, that's what a suspense film can do. It builds you up like the entire film.
So cool.
And then you're so tense that it's finally a relief, but all that tension leaves you really fast.
It's such a good moment too.
And it's such a cool thing, because we don't get that too much anymore in like modern horror movies.
No, I want more of it.
Like, it takes a lot of patience to build up to that, and both I think a lot of directors, but also modern audiences don't have that patience.
Oh, I do.
And if you do anything, like we've talked about jump scares, but that's basically what they are. They relieve that tension.
Yeah.
All right. On that note,
can I bring up something before we move on?
Yeah,
something
I was
before you
gonna
give a
describe the film, but yeah, go ahead.
No. I just want to say this before we start describing the film. I bitched at the start of this. This movie is an hour and 58 minutes long or whatever.
Yeah, it's super long.
2 hours. Didn't feel like 2 hours. Watching it for the first time, I did not feel like it dragged at all, actually. I think it's so well paced out because just when you think you're at a point where it's like, okay, they're going to wrap it up, like something's going to happen, they just throw a wrench into it and give you a reason to keep watching.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm gonna disagree with you. It is paced super well.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like it should be as slow and as fast as it is.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's something weirdly, I don't know what the word is here, meandering about the film.
Yeah.
That it feels like it stretches on forever in the sense that, like, both nothing and everything's happening.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where I feel like if they really wanted to, this film could have stretched on even longer.
For
and that
sure.
Still would have fit.
I mean, when we hit the credits, I was like, well, they could have done more.
Yeah.
And I would have kept watching.
Because it fits the tone of just meandering, going back and forth between something happening and something not. And so, yeah, it really earns that time.
For sure.
However, I will say, I could tell, like, how much time was passing, but that's just because, like, I'm more used to that.
Fair enough.
Because it is long.
It's long, but it's not one of those movies where I go, I want this to end.
There's no nothing, I guess is the best way to put it.
Everything is something, but it is also nothing.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Okay.
Now you can describe the film.
Anything else?
No.
But you liked it, though, right?
I really like this movie.
Okay.
Man. This is one of those ones where I'm like, man, I wish I'd seen this a lot earlier in my life.
All right. So, I guess I'm going to do a rough description of the plot here.
Sure.
Basically, the film starts off with a narrated backstory about Hill House. What's his name? Dr.
Markway.
Markway? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for always remembering names.
I'm good with names. I don't know why.
Dr. Markway is one of the characters. He's the doctor.
Yeah.
But it's him doing the narrator voice, and he's describing basically all the bad things that have happened in Hill House, very specifically the deaths. There's, 5? Bob's counting.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, 5.
You're right.
And it's implied that, like, outside of the deaths, some other unpleasantness has happened in the house. But long story short, Dr. Markway is like, this is the perfect place to really see if the supernatural is real. Because that's his thing. He's really into the supernatural, but he's a doctor. He's an anthropologist, so he wants to be able to be scientific about it. So his plan is to gather a bunch of people who he thinks have been, like, touched by the supernatural, and he's gone through a bunch of different sources to get as well-verified people as he can for this. And he's invited 6 people to come.
Yeah.
And then also the nephew of the woman who owns the building.
Because she she basically wants someone to watch him, make sure he isn't doing stupid.
Canoodling.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he sends out invites, and everyone's going to come. And then it cuts to who's essentially the main character of the film, Eleanor. And from that point on, it's Eleanor coming to the house, and then all their experiences at the house. That's about it.
Yeah.
The big thing I'll mention here, though, is that the character of Eleanor is portrayed in such a way that it's, like, left unclear whether or not she's, like, all right in the head.
Yeah, I got that vibe a lot of this movie is very heavily implying that everything that is happening could not be supernatural. And Eleanor could just be a mentally ill person.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's elements that lean more heavily into the supernatural part.
Sure.
But the film is shot in such a way that, like, there's elements that can be interpreted as, like, scientific, as just psychosis, and then some elements are just blatant supernatural.
Yeah, and I like it a lot.
And it's a cool way to do it. Way, way, way back on the board when we watched, what was that courtroom movie?
The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Emily Rose.
Yeah, good movie.
It did a similar thing where it does an angle where it's supernatural and one where it's not. And this film does a lot more nuanced version of that.
Yeah, and I really like it.
It's very good. And so that's kind of like the backbone to the whole film is, yes, the characters are exposed to, like, supernatural elements in the house as they're basically exploring whether or not the house is haunted, but we as the audience get to see it through the lens of this character who might not be the most reliable.
Reliable narrator, yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
All right, well, that's kind of the plot. I'd highly recommend you go watch it if that sounds interesting.
Go check this out.
It's definitely a slow film, and it's definitely old, so you do have to be prepared for that. But if you are interested and that sounds like something interesting to you,
Mm-hmm.
or even just something you could sit through, it's definitely worth the watch, I think. All right, I got some cool facts, and I think we can use those as some talking off points,
Okay.
unless you have something specific you want to talk about first.
Okay, I got one thing.
Yeah.
I love the group of characters in this movie. It's such a well thought out, like, cast of characters.
It's essentially only 4 people the entire film.
Yeah.
There's Dr. Markway.
Who is essentially the old man of the group. In character
He's like in his
archetypes.
40, but 40. He's in his 40s. You
Yeah.
can tell I'm really tired.
Yeah. But, like, if you think of any, like, classic group of adventurers.
He's
and
the
or-
professor.
He's the professor type.
Yeah.
Which is great. You have that kind of character. You have
Eleanor.
Eleanor, who I think is... I'm trying to think of how best to describe how she fits. Sort of I guess, the main character, the protagonist.
The troubled lead.
The troubled lead, yeah. Who I think is a very big archetype in a lot of media. You have
Theodora.
Theo, who is
Yeah, they just call her Theo.
the psychic.
Yeah.
The psychic and or the supernatural lady?
The girl.
I don't know how else to describe her, but she fits that archetype of like,
The confident woman.
yeah. And then you have Luke, the bumbling businessman. And I love the way this cast of characters is thought out and put together because they bounce off of each other super well.
Yeah, in very unique ways. And
Yeah.
to be honest, most of the film is just them bouncing off each other.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, like, both good writing and good acting.
For sure. Like, I think a lot of the scenes with Luke and Markway are so fucking funny because Luke's a
skeptic,
yeah,
and Markway, he's skeptical, but he's a believer.
yeah.
And so they're basically constantly fighting. And
It's
Luke
so
is a
good.
smarmy asshole.
Yeah.
And Bob started the film is like, I hate him. And by the end, he's like, he sucks, but he's really funny. I
He's
love
so
him.
funny. Every time there's a part in the movie where Mark was like, it's really cold here, and Luke's like, it must be a draft. And Mark goes, a draft when all the doors close themselves, and Luke's like, motherfucker.
Well, he's like, there must be a hole in the floor. And he's like,
Yeah.
the floor's solid.
It's so good. It's so funny. And I also enjoy Eleanor and Theo's like bouncing off each other too.
Yeah, there's definitely a symmetry there because the two
Mhm.
guys have chemistry where they bounce off one another, and then the two girls have chemistry where they bounce off one another. I do think it is worth noting here that very specifically, it's heavily implied that Theodore's written as like a lesbian character.
Oh, for sure. I called it. I went, there's some sexual tension here
So,
that I can
The
sense.
bouncing off there is very different than the bouncing off between Markway and Luke
Yeah.
because there's some sexual tension, especially on Theo's side.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if you noticed, that was a whole nother aspect to the character interactions where she would get nasty
Yeah.
whenever Eleanor was like talking to
Markway?
Markway,
I noticed it.
which was super interesting because it added a lot of tension to the whole
There's
film.
so much character drama within this film that is not needed but very appreciated when you look at it from that perspective.
Especially because it all heightens not only the tension, but the character's emotions in a way that can forward that idea that maybe something going on isn't supernatural.
Yeah. Super cool.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Let's get into some post-movie facts. Now, before I get into some movie facts,
Mm-hmm.
I want to mention this. First of all, this film is based on a book.
I saw that in the opening credits.
It is based on Shirley Jackson's 1959 novel, The Haunting of Hill House.
I want to read it now.
That's why it's the alternate name of this. Basically, Giddings and Wise, so the director, well, the writer and the director, didn't really like that name, and
Huh.
they kind of wanted to find something else. So they talked to Shirley Jackson before producing the film. Like, they kind of had a script, but they talked to her some as, like, a consultant, and they were like, hey, what's, like, an alternate name you had for the book? Was there any, like, before you decided on The Haunting of Hill House? And she was like, well, I thought about The Haunting, so that's what they went with.
That's cool that they asked the author and were like trying to use alternate names that she had chosen.
I mean, asking the author about their book isn't uncommon.
No, but
when
it's
writing a
nice
script.
to
But
have that forethought.
not everyone does it,
Yeah.
and so it's always good when you see that. With that being said, do you know Shirley Jackson as a writer?
No, not at all.
So she's one of those really interesting authors where she's really famous for one of like her earliest stories.
Oh.
And so she, from what I've heard about her, is she always struggled because she wrote one story that was much more famous than all her other stories super early on in her career. And people would always come up and be like, oh, you wrote this story. And she'd be like, I mean, yeah, but I also wrote these stuffs.
That sucks.
And that's kind of sucky. The story she wrote wasn't The Haunting of Hill House. That's not like a really famous story. Her really famous story is a short story. So not even a novel. It's a short story. It was published on June 26, 1948 in The New Yorker.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty good for her. It's called The Lottery. Are you familiar with The Lottery?
No, actually.
Okay. You will be probably familiar with the trope of it. But basically, it's this really famous story where this town is getting together and they're doing a lottery. Like they're drawing from the box and to see who's the winner. And they're doing the draws. And spoilers for the lottery here. Very famous short story. They do a draw, and the person who wins gets stoned to death.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That sucks.
That's it. That's the whole story.
Huh.
They do it like every year.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that twist turn of events, but that's fine. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a really well-written story. And it's really cool because it's written in such a way that, like, you don't really know what they're talking about until the very end.
See, that's really cool.
The characters refer to the lottery like it's a thing they all know, like, what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But, like, the lottery is also just, like, a general term.
Uh-huh.
So you don't know, like, what they're drawing for.
That's really cool.
Really cool. I would highly recommend, before I just spoiled it, but you can still read it. But that's Shirley Jackson. Now, what I do want to mention now is, because this was a book, there is, like, multiple adaptations of this.
Mm-hmm.
So for the book, there's another film adaptation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it came out in 1999.
Oh, shit. It's new.
And
Well, newer.
newer.
It's still 20 years
It's
ago.
also called The Haunting. So it's kind of just a remake of this movie,
Okay.
I say, rather than a adaptation of the book.
I wonder if the remake will be as good. I doubt it.
Additionally, there is also a miniseries based on the Haunting movie. It's called...
Whoa.
It came out in 2002. It's called Rose Red by Stephen King.
Oh.
It's very, very, very loosely based on the Haunting.
Okay.
Like, very loosely. And then, as Bob was talking about kind of at the beginning of the film, because he was like, wait a second, there's also a Netflix miniseries called The Haunting.
The Haunting of Hill House is
The
what it's
Haunting
called.
of Hill House, which is assumedly based on the book.
I bet you it is based on the book, actually.
Yeah.
Because there were only a couple of similarities from that miniseries to the movie. Not that it ruined my experience, but I saw some stuff coming because I went, oh, that happened in the show.
Now, from what I've heard, because I haven't read the book, so I don't know, but I do know out of the two films, this one is generally considered the more faithful adaptation
Okay.
compared to the 1999 one.
Well, then the miniseries, the thing with the Netflix series is it's based in the modern day.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how accurate the Netflix series is,
Yeah.
or if it just takes inspiration.
It's definitely just taking inspiration, but
But it is good to bring up.
if you're a fan of horror in general, highly recommend that series. Super good.
I would maybe recommend watching this first. What do you think? Maybe not as
honestly,
approachable.
I don't think you need to.
No, you don't need to, but, like, I think this is probably a better piece of media, even if it's slightly less approachable.
I think if you're the thing is this, I don't know if I would say that because I'll be honest, I know some people probably wouldn't like this movie.
Well, that's why I said approachability is a issue.
Yeah.
But if it's your thing, I'd watch this one first.
Yeah, a fan of modern horror, the show. For sure.
Fair.
It's very much a modern horror TV show.
I know. I was just more saying that, like, when you have two properties that kind of, well, if you have two pieces of media that are based on the same property,
Yeah.
choose the one that's objectively better.
Fair enough.
I think this one's probably objectively better. Not
Yeah.
for everyone, but, like, this is super well done.
It's such a good movie.
So well done.
So good.
All right. But that stuff out of the way, we can get into some actual movie facts. So Giddings, the writer, he read the book, and his kind of takeaway from the book was that the story was more based on the idea of, like, a mental breakdown rather than a haunted house. And
I see.
Eventually, when he talked to Jackson, so the novel's author,
Mm-hmm.
she was like, nah, it's a supernatural story. And so when he was writing the script, he did write in, like, explicitly supernatural stuff,
Yeah.
but he kept that mental breakdown stuff, which is why the film leaves that kind of
The gray that I really
the gray.
like.
Yeah, I will say I think definitely supernatural,
Yeah.
100% supernatural stuff going on.
But
But how much of it is supernatural is the question.
exactly. How much of it?
So I think that's kind of a good thing to discuss because that is in there on purpose.
I would say I much prefer it leaving it gray like that. Like if it had just been straight up, yeah, it's definitely 100% a ghost all the time.
Not as good.
Not as good.
Next thing, the interior sets. So let's talk about those really quick.
So
Super
fucking
well
cool.
done.
So cool.
I think the most impressive part was not only the detail put it into like the architecture on them, because those things look classy, like kind
Oh
of
yeah.
not gothic, but do you know what style that is?
No idea.
I don't know. Super nice looking.
It's so cool though.
But they decorated each of the sets extensively, like
It's
china
all
and mirrors,
decorated.
over the top. But it's amazing.
And you know what? One of the coolest parts about it is this house full of mirrors everywhere. They use that in every opportunity possible in
Mhm.
this film, and it's so fucking cool.
Yeah, we can just mention this now. One of I think the better scenes in the film, and it's something I don't really see a lot, is they're at the dining table and they're filming very explicitly Luke
Yeah,
and
Mark Way.
Mark Way. I keep wanting to say McCarthy,
Nope.
but
That's a dude from oh god, Dreamcatcher.
which is a dude from
The
Heart
Thing.
of Darkness.
Heart of Darkness. I don't know
Yeah.
why I said The Thing. That was McCready.
That's McCready. But no, it's Luke and Mark Way. I got there.
You're gonna forget again.
I'm really bad with names. But yeah, Luke and Mark Way are discussing like right next to each other, so they're
Yeah.
facing each other, and so the camera's explicitly recording them. But there's a big mirror behind them that is angled in such a way that we can see off screen
Yeah,
Theo and Nell, so Eleanor. It's just really cool.
it's super cool. They
And
do that a ton.
They use mirrors like that throughout the movie.
And you always the thing that's really cool about it for me is coming from someone who has seen a lot of more modern horror movies. I'm always expecting something in the mirror, and there's never anything there.
No,
Never.
except a reflection.
Yeah, and it's so I don't know, refreshing to not be scared like that.
I think it's just more interesting to, instead of use a mirror as like a prop for the horror, you use
Using-
it as a way to manipulate the scene.
Yeah,
Like the one I described, they're using the mirror to show more than they normally would be able to while still focusing on
Yep.
the characters who are talking. There's also a really, really cool scene where Nell's running down the hallway at a mirror, and they're filming the mirror. And so Nell runs into the mirror, and she's startled because she
Mhm.
wasn't expecting it. And you as the audience aren't expecting it.
Yep.
Because you were looking at the mirror.
yeah.
And it's a cool way to manipulate view and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, that's what mirrors are for. But most modern horror doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
The film also uses, and this is another part of the set that's really cool, shadow really well.
Oh man.
Which is, using shadow in a film is always very hard.
Yeah.
Because it involves you manipulating lights in relation to where the camera is. And it's just a really hard thing to do and
Yeah.
do well. And this film does it all the time.
Yeah, and it's super cool. And I think it's even more interesting because this is a black and white film.
Yeah, actually, I will say doing a black and white film, it's sometimes easier to manipulate light and shadow because shadows pop so well.
Yeah, and that's what I think makes the shadows in this look so good and be so
And-
useful.
Also, like you can brighten things up a lot more than you could in like a color film
Yeah.
because you don't have to worry about oversaturation. So, that helps. But the shadow's so good. I pointed at one part where they walk through like there's some hanging like ropes in front of a door.
Yeah.
And they specifically walk through the door, and then the camera like angles upwards,
Mm-hmm.
and they've now backlit the door, and so those hanging things are now on the ceiling as shadows.
Yep.
It's really cool.
Super cool. They also do a lot of really cool like shadow fades basically, where
Mhm.
something will be in the foreground and shadows will take everything out of the background, but it's still there.
Yeah, they just
Super cool.
darkened it.
Yeah.
What's another thing they did with this setting that's really cool?
Statues, man.
Statues are everywhere.
The statues are so cool.
Really cool. Creepy.
Creepy.
And thematically relevant depending on the scene.
Yep.
Lots of vaguely religious references with them too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, like horn statues and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think what we want to mention is probably one of the coolest set pieces. There was a spiral staircase.
Oh, so cool.
And it's not only cool because it's a spiral staircase, and those are just rad to begin
They are
with.
pretty cool.
But because it's a prop that was meant to move,
Yeah.
because it's supposed to be a rickety spiral staircase. And we were discussing it during the movie, but I think what they did is they ran a rope down from the ceiling and then put a bunch of, like, pieces that roughly fit together. So, like, it was a stair and then some railing.
Yeah.
And when they stack on top of each other on the rope, they look like one solid piece. But when you walk on it, it wobbles.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Super
cool stuff
cool.
like that. And that's, like, all the stuff about the set that's really, really obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one really, really cool thing about these sets that's, like, not super obvious, but was, I think, probably instrumental in how this film turned out. And it's just a super unique set choice design. Because keep in mind, all these sets are built. Like, this is not the inside of the place they filmed. These are on a stage somewhere. And so the most unique thing they did, and tell me if you notice, but these sets included ceilings.
Yeah.
That's not a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Most sets on, like, a soundstage don't have them.
Because you're normally not shooting the ceiling in frame.
You're usually not shooting the ceiling
And also,
in frame.
it's expensive to put a ceiling on stuff.
Well, that too. But, you know, the big one's lighting. Because usually you have top-down lights
Yeah.
to make it look more naturalistic. But there's one other thing that you leave ceilings off for, and that is a sense of openness. Because, you know, it makes up and down, everything looks bigger.
Yeah.
Because there's no ceiling. But they decided to put ceilings in this film to make everything look more claustrophobic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you got that feeling.
Oh, I did.
We described the thing with, like, the ropes hanging down and the shadow kind of looks like fingers kind of crawling up the wall
Yeah.
and, like, I don't know,
Almost clasping them.
clasping around the people. It's just a great thing. A little attention to detail there, but it really helps with that tension building throughout the film.
Yeah, because I think one of my favorite parts is that leads claustrophobia is the stuff in the hallways, because the hallways feel so long and dark because they're ceilings.
That's another thing they tried to do is they tried to make the hallways look like super, super long.
Mm-hmm.
And when you add, like, ceilings to that, with that kind of, like, not necessarily optical illusion, but focus on the foreground,
Yeah.
it kind of feels like the ceiling's collapsing on everyone.
Mm-hmm. It's super
Which is
cool.
great. All right. Moving on. So Wise, the director, like I said, had some trouble, like, with funding.
Yeah.
Just because, obviously, it's hard to find funds for a film. And he eventually got funds through MGM because he had a pre-existing contract with them. Right? Basically, he had a contract that said, you have to make a film for us. And he pitched The Haunting. And so they gave him the money for it. What's really interesting about this contract is the contract said the film had to be black and white, which is part of the reason it's in black and white.
Huh.
Now, Wise prefers black and white for the medium of, like, horror, so he was totally on board for that. But I think it's interesting to note that part of the reason this is, like, black and white is not just directorial choice.
Okay. I'll put this out there now. I don't think this would have worked in color.
It would have been a very different film.
Very different movie. Black and white lended itself so well to the way they were, like, the gothic nature of the house itself
Yeah.
and all the set designs. And also, a lot of the statues are white marble statues, so they pop in black and white
Oh, yeah.
against the dark shadows of the house. So it looks so fucking cool.
And I don't know if this was a thing you noticed after watching for a while, but it's always my favorite part of black and white films, is that once you get used to them, you're able to, like, distinguish color in grayscale.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
it's very cool.
It grows on you. I love black and white. It's such a cool stylistic thing. Kind of in the same vein, the opening shots with the house, really weird, right? Where it's all black like that.
Yeah.
So from what I could find, and I think it's specifically those shots, they used infrared film stock to do those.
Whoa.
They got it, like, shipped out of the country.
Huh.
Because it's not very common. But yeah, that's what gives it that, like, kind of monstrous look.
I was
like
about to say, it makes
big
it
black shape.
very, very dark opening.
Yeah. Really, really
very
cool shot.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool.
But I believe that's how that's done. They also used some other things to make this film look kind of cool. Wise he really wanted and I'm quoting here, like, an anamorphic wide angle lens for this film.
Dude, I noticed that. if he did it.
Yeah, kind of those wide shots.
Yeah, it looked like a oh god, like all those shitty YouTube vloggers who have like the fisheye lens.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it looked like that.
He just wanted really, really wide shots. To
I
kind
noticed
of help with
that.
everything. It kind of
It compresses the
Compresses
top down, but
stuff
then
down.
widens it.
and it makes it feel again more claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Really, really works for this film. It also captures like how big rooms are.
Yeah, like when Eleanor burst through those doors at one point, and it was like a fisheye shot where it was like compressed and then wide.
Yeah,
Super dope.
and he was like looking for a lens from Panavision, who helped with this film, and they only had a 40 millimeter lens. He wanted a 30 millimeter, and they had a 30 millimeter. But very interestingly, it was essentially a prototype, and so this, like, very notably, Panavision was not, like, okay with giving him this lens
Oh no.
because it was imperfect and it had, like, flaws in the lens.
I see.
And so he has, like, gone on statement saying, like, if there's any flaws in the film and distortion,
It's the lens.
it's the lens, but it's not Panavision's fault. Which I think is very funny.
It's funny. I didn't notice any flaws or anything. It looked fine.
But did you notice any distortions?
No.
I think I noticed maybe a little sometimes,
Really?
but I like them.
They add character.
They add character in a fun way for this film.
Yeah.
I just thought that was cool.
Very cool. I thought some of those scenes looked a little funny, and I didn't know what they did. Nice to know it was just the lens.
but it's a cool effect.
It's
Either
super
way.
cool.
Next thing to mention is stuff about actors. So the actor who plays Eleanor is Julie Harris, and one of the really notable things I could find about this film is her actor was actually like super depressed during filming, like very noticeably.
Huh.
Just a fun comment right there.
I wonder why.
Probably mental health issues.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me.
No, like
Oh, okay.
She
You don't
just-
have an answer.
she just suffered with like depression during the filming.
Oh, that
which,
sucks.
I don't know. I think there were some issues with like she wouldn't communicate with the other actors as much and kind of stay in her like makeup room and stuff like that. But that is important to note because it can add to the acting quality if you're not like super friendly with everyone.
Yeah.
Another thing to mention between the actors, and this is something where you don't really notice at first, but I'm going to tell you and you're probably going to be like, oh yeah. So Wise, as a like directorial choice to increase like the conflict, specifically had the actors step on each other's lines. I don't know if you remember, but during some of like the really heightened scenes, one of the characters would start talking and then the other one would like start yelling over them.
I thought that was on purpose.
It is on purpose.
It was on purpose, but like, I guess I didn't really think about it.
That's not how the script's written, obviously.
Yeah.
And he was just like, okay, start yelling over each other like you actually would.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't really catch it, but now that you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I just thought that was the way they were directed to do it, and it was.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know.
It's more the fact that like you have to specifically tell your actors to act like that.
Yeah.
And so to tell your actors to do that is just attention to detail in a very unique way.
This movie's full of attention to detail.
All right, next thing about the actors, and this is probably one of the most unique ones I got. This film was pre-scored.
Whoa, what?
So Wise recorded, so in the film, there's ghosts making noise.
Yeah.
They did all those noises before the movie was shot, and then they played those noises while filming so that the actors could give like more realistic reactions to what they were hearing.
Whoa, that's cool.
So instead of having like reactors reacting to no sound,
yeah.
because sound's happening, offset,
Mm-hmm.
they played sound offset and had them react to it.
Whoa, so you're telling me that whole scene with all the noises coming from the thing, that's all like real?
Yeah, so they did. Well, they pre-recorded it.
Yeah, I know, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they played it there. The actor reacts to it.
Whoa.
And they filmed it like that, and then in post they touched up the sound.
That's rad as fuck. That's actually really cool.
So not all the sound we're hearing in the movie is that pre-scored sound.
Okay.
But they did play basically the same thing. It's a really weird way to do it, but super cool.
Yeah.
And smart too.
Yeah.
Like probably a good way to get reactions the way you want them.
For sure. That's real dope.
Yeah. All right. Last fact I got, and this is kind of a one that I think you'll kind of agree with, and then also be like, oh. So when this film came out, not great reception.
Oh,
It was kind of middling.
okay.
Like, people were like, I mean, it's good, but it's kind of nothing.
Maybe. Okay.
But not nothing as in nothing happened, but nothing as in no substance.
I don't know. I thought there was substance, but maybe I'm reading into it too hard.
Well, hear me out. That's what people thought when it first came out. Since then, like, a lot of people are like, yeah, one of the scariest movies of all time. Like, super great.
Yeah, it's a great
Including
movie.
a bunch of, like, super famous directors and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really like this movie. It's awesome.
Lots of people really, really like it, which is why I threw it under the haunted house category. Because it was, like, the classic haunted house movie. We've talked about that before on the podcast, but also super famous. Lots of people love it. So,
yeah.
Thought that'd be a fun thing to add.
I think if I had watched this when it came out, I would probably go, that movie's boring as shit. And now
No,
that
if you watched this when this came out, you would have pissed your pants.
well, that's fair. It really
you, like,
almost got me.
legitimately yelled at
I
the
yelled.
end.
It scared. It actually scared me. I've said this. I have not been that scared in a long time. Like, this fucking scared me.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? I think we covered a lot of stuff there.
We got a lot out of this one. No, I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about.
All right.
I think I talked about everything I wanted to.
I guess we'll go to the outtakes. I don't know how many we
Well,
have.
you're skipping a bit.
Oh, yeah, we do have to review it.
Yeah.
All right. Recommendations, Bob.
Recommend this if you're into older films. I won't say old.
Yeah, it's not that old.
It's not that old, but like
It's only from, like, 60
the 60s.
years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. If you're into black and white films, I think this is one of those movies where black and white is a huge benefit to the film. If you're into horror and you haven't seen this is like the haunted house movie in my opinion that I've seen.
Bob's only seen one, but this is it.
This is it. Like, no, but I mean, like, there are so many things in this movie that I go, oh, that's a trope in X other haunted house movie that I know.
No, yeah, this was a good introduction.
It's a very, very good starter pack. It also, I think if you're into old movies, it's super approachable. Even if you're not into old movies, I still think it's pretty approachable. Because
yeah. The only thing that might scare off most modern audiences is pacing.
Yeah.
If you have to have patience. And if you
Mhm.
don't have patience and you need, like, constant stimulation in your movies,
Yeah.
definitely not for you.
Fair enough. Ashley would hate this film. I say that a lot on this podcast, but I know she would.
That's one of our friends.
Well, if she was in like episode 3 or something. Yeah, if you're a fan of horror, check this out. It's a very, very cool movie. If you're a fan of suspense films, very cool suspense film, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Yeah, I
All
think
right.
that's everything I got.
I think my biggest recommendation here is going to be if you're a fan of, like, classic cinema. This is a film from the 60s, but it definitely feels like in the vein of something from the 40s or the 50s. Closer
Really?
to, like, style.
Okay.
I mean, like, there was, like, this kind of old school, like, black and white film wasn't necessarily the most common thing at the time period. Like, you know, Hitchcock was still alive and he was still producing his films, but that's kind of from that older style because they're older directors, you know? Like, I was talking about a James Bond film came out right around the same time as
Yeah.
this. This is very much not James Bond.
Very much not that.
Long story short, if you want, like, an older feeling kind of horror film or just film in general, this is probably a good one. Feels pretty classic. They're still doing the transatlantic
It feels so classic.
accent, you know, stuff like that. If you want a black and white film, same thing. Check it out. Pretty good. It really helps this movie be very different in color in a weird way.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in seeing it in color though, just because that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
If, like, there's the Blu-ray version and they have the restored color.
I mean, I'd watch it. I would definitely probably enjoy myself. It would just be a very different experience.
Mm-hmm. Besides, like, you know, classic film stuff, if you're into suspense, this is just a pure suspense film. So if you like, you know, Hitchcock, it's probably a good thing to check out. Or if you like this, go check out Hitchcock.
We need to watch Hitchcock
He's
now.
the master of suspense.
God damn it. Now I want to watch a Hitchcock film.
You know The Birds came out the same year as this?
We got to watch The Birds at some point.
Scary.
Isn't we have to watch The Birds with Ashley. Remember? She's terrified of birds. I forgot about that.
I don't think she'll watch it.
We told her we'd watch it with her. Oh my god.
Besides, if you like suspense films, I think haunted houses. That's the other big one.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to watch, like, it's not specifically haunted houses, but if you want to, like, watch an old school ghost story where it's less about the overt supernatural and more about, like, the subtle,
Mm-hmm.
that's what this film is. So if that sounds interesting and you like the psychological elements of that, give it a watch.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Rating?
5. This movie's fucking sick. I like this movie. I don't know what to say. I've been jerking this movie off the whole time. Look,
You got an accent there for a second.
I did.
It was almost like Philly.
This movie is everything I want in a classic haunted house tale. The cast of characters is great. They bounce off each other super well. The horror is there, but it's not overt horror, which I freaking love. The coolest part of this film is you don't see a ghost. You don't see anything the entire movie. I like the gray areas it gives you about whether this is Eleanor's freaking out or it's actually a supernatural thing. There are some twists that happen. Some people show up that I did not expect to see, and it's super cool. I think the acting is super good. I think the setup is super cool. This movie, it did some things for me. I really fucking like it. It's so cool.
All right.
I had to come out swinging.
Yeah, you really came out swinging there. I think I'm a 5 as well.
Nice.
I mean, yeah. I think everything Bob said is pretty straight to the point. It's a simple concept, but it's written very, very well. It's well thought out. It's shot super well. We
didn't even talk about the cinematography.
Cinematography. Well, we talked a little bit about the techniques.
It's so good.
But, I mean, the whole thing with that mirror shot we talked about is that's just a hard thing to shoot. And the whole film is like that.
The thing with the spiral staircase.
Very, very pretty. Sound design's pretty good.
Very cool. I actually really like the music in this movie, too.
Music's pretty good. The score has some really good brass on it. Actors all do a good job. It's overall just really, really great. Great execution of the concept, and you can really tell that, like, because it's such a simple concept that the only reason it turns out so good is because of the amount of effort and love and just how well it's pulled off, and that's why it's a good film. The only thing I think that like would put a dampener on this film in general, and this is not affecting my rating because this is like a subjective thing, is there's some weird stuff because it's so old. The most notable one is Eleanor has her like internal monologue sometimes, and it's a very stylistic thing that you don't see anymore, but like sometimes they'll zoom in on Eleanor and she'll move in such a way that no one else is in focus, and then it's just her internal monologue.
See, I like that.
And
though.
I like that.
I do too.
Because it's a style of the time, but it's just something so bizarre by modern standards.
Yeah.
And there's stuff
also
like
a narrator.
Yeah, there's stuff like that throughout the film that I don't think bring the film down because it's a part of
the charm.
It's a part of the charm, but it's also a part of the time period. And so that might affect certain people's like enjoyment, but
didn't affect mine.
I
Made
don't
it better.
I don't think that affects the rating, if that makes sense. Like the quality of the film.
Oh.
Anyways, I don't have much more to say. It's a 5. I really liked it. I think it went above and beyond it could, and then it near perfect. I mean,
damn near.
Yeah. Nothing's perfect. But
Nothing's perfect, but damn near perfect. I
not
think,
really anything that's struck out to me as like, oh, that was horrible.
Yeah, exactly. There's no this movie took the basic concept of a haunted house and just elevated it through the roof.
Yeah, like they definitely didn't need some of the really complex character interactions.
No, not at all.
Like I mentioned, Theo's very obviously a lesbian character, but it's coded very subtly.
Yeah.
Not for the 60s. For the 60s, it's kind of obvious. Like, it's like, oh. But she's coded in a way that's, like, pretty progressive for the time period.
Absolutely.
From what I've read, it's, like, at the time it was more common to portray a character like that as very, like, taking advantage of other people.
No.
And,
she's not doing that, though.
Like, ooh, let me.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And this one doesn't, really.
Yeah.
Well written. There's also some weird drama between Eleanor and Markway, yeah. And
you only forget his name
because I keep wanting to say McCarthy.
It's not.
I don't know why. But there's this weird drama between Eleanor and Markway, but it's done in a very subtle, like, almost realistic way.
Like I didn't catch it at first, and then they bring it up, and I'm like, oh my god, that was happening the whole time.
Yeah, stuff like that's great. So yeah, on that note, we're gonna go to the outtakes for real this time. So
I was gonna cut that. You don't have to bring it back up. Now I have to leave it in because it's not gonna make sense.
It's funny.
Ugh.
All right, we'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in a bit. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the outtake section for this episode of Beware the Board. I hope you're enjoying our review of The Haunting so far. I really, really, really like this movie. I think it's so freaking cool. But if you do not want any spoilers from the outtake section, please skip to 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 6 seconds immediately. This first clip is Ben and I's reaction to the intro to this movie. Ben, this is magical.
Yeah. It's pretty great, right?
Yo, what a cool-ass intro.
Yeah, look at them special effects right there.
That actually looked really cool. Like, surprisingly cool for a movie from 1963.
Oh, yeah, you've never seen old films like this.
No.
I love old films, Bob. I don't know if we've ever talked about that. They're
We
like
have.
basically my favorite. So this will be an interesting experience for you because I love this shit. I think it's so much fun. Black and white films especially. They're so cool.
This next clip is Ben and I reacting to a very funny line delivered by Luke as he's trying to mock the supernatural.
Oh, that shadow's so cool. Do you see it on the ceiling?
What is that?
That's the shadow of the thing they just walked through. It's just a cool shot.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Psy-kookiness.
Psy-kookiness? Psy-kookiness. Can that be the name of the episode?
Psy-kookiness?
This next clip is me making a really funny joke and being mad that Ben didn't laugh.
Goosebumps.
Good books.
There isn't by any chance a cold spot in this room too.
You're not gonna laugh, you dumb bitch.
Fuck you.
You know, it's a good fucking
You
joke.
don't deserve a laugh for that.
This next clip is mine and Ben's reaction to a super cool special effect they did in this film where one of the wooden doors of the house seems to flex inward almost as if it was made of rubber. Oh. Oh.
That's not the way the door's supposed to open.
It's not.
Which means the door's flexing. Aw, that's cool.
Whoa. That's... Whoa. How the fuck did they do that? This is Ben and I's reaction to the scariest part of this entire film.
That was a good backwards lean there.
That was really good.
Don't caress her
No,
face.
your wife is somewhere in this house.
Well, we hope.
I think. His wife burst through the door right there and sees this.
And they fall off the stairs.
And die.
Come on. Come back down the stairs.
That sucks. Oh my god! Holy shit, that scared the fuck out of me. What the hell? This next clip is Ben and I reacting to one of the only deaths in the entire film. Who the fuck was that? Well, she crashed the car. She's not dead, so that's nice.
She's dead.
Oh my god, she's dead.
I know it's not funny, but you went, she's not dead. That's nice.
This dumb bitch! Grace got her fucking killed! Hi everybody, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. There's some funny ones. I think there's one
We got Bob screaming.
yeah, that hasn't happened in a while. I didn't mention that about this movie, but this movie actually scared me, and that is a plus, because it's old and I didn't expect to be scared.
He was like, why was I so scared?
Why was I so scared? It was scary. Anyway, do we have any announcements, Benjamin?
Nah.
Why did I ask?
I don't know.
We do.
No.
It's an episode coming out tomorrow. Saturday.
Oh, yeah, but they know that.
Yeah, convention episode tomorrow. I'm just letting everybody know, because, you know, some people don't pay attention.
Okay.
If that's our only announcement, then check us out on Twitter, @BewareTheBoard. It's where I post updates about the show. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that week's worth of episodes. which is basically a tweet with an image in it, and you can click to reveal the image to see a movie cover of the movie you're watching that week, so you can watch it before we do, so you don't get any spoilers during the episode.
I swear it's not anything inappropriate.
No, look, it may look like I'm posting lewd images on our Twitter all the time. It's not. It's just movie covers, okay? I promise. Some of the movie covers are pretty lewd. The Castle Freak one, but she's in a bra. No nudity. We're good. On Fridays and on other days that we drop episodes now, because we have a bunch of episodes coming out on random ass days, I post a link to those episodes when they go live. So if you ever miss an upload or like need a link to an episode, go to our Twitter. It'll be on there. Yeah, basically Twitter's where everything that we do goes.
You know, if you want to listen to us, we're everywhere you get your podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other places.
Yeah.
We're also on YouTube, which, you know, if you want to watch us there for some reason. With that being said, YouTube's kind of nice because it's a good place to support us. You know, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And, you know, the benefit of commenting there is that you can communicate with us. It's not as good as, like, an Ouija board in your haunted house trying to commune with spirits.
I wonder where you were going to go with that one.
But if you're banging on the walls of the comment section,
Ooh, good one.
we'll hear you eventually.
Hey, we got a recommendation in the comment section. I want to watch that film, too. I don't know what it's about, but it was very confusing.
Do you want to tell that story?
I mean, a little bit. So, you may have noticed on one of our recent episodes, there's just a comment from an account that just says, The Sadness. It was my friend Brian, who listens to our show. Hi, Brian. I'm talking about you on the show now. And he was like, I was like, that's weird. Why would Brian just comment The Sad? It just said The Sadness. There was no, like, I'm recommending you guys this movie called The Sadness. So I saw Brian the next day because we went to a wedding there. I went, are you okay? He was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you just commented on one of my YouTube videos saying The Sadness. He went, oh, it's a movie recommendation. I went, how was I supposed to know? I was like, I just thought you were sad.
But see, we read them.
We do. If they're there, we'll read them. Promise.
Maybe specify it's a movie recommendation.
Yeah, and don't just leave random, weird, ominous comments in the comment section, please. All right, I think that's it.
Yeah, all right.
I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, see you next time.